Lost sectors have gotten multiple buffs over the past year that a lot of people have overlooked. Not only did the exotic drop rate go up, but they also dropped tons of engrams and some really good weapons. So in this video, I'll go over the best weapons to look for when grinding Legend and Master Lost sectors as a solo player. I'm Marshix, and in case you've been living under a rock for the past 4 years, there are higher difficulty Lost sectors that rotate daily. These Lost sectors have champions, they drop masterwork materials, and if you play solo, they drop specific types of exotic armor, as well as unique versions of legendary weapons, many of which are actually good. There are 16 weapons in total, but only 4 of the 16 can drop per day. These rotate daily, so on the first rotation, you can get these weapons, and here's the rest of the list for the second, third, and fourth day's rotation. If you want to see which rotation it is right now, just go to light.gg and there's a drop-down menu near the top of the screen with all the info you'll need. These weapons are also random world drops, so you don't have to get them through Lost sectors, but Lost sectors allow you to target farm for them, and these versions are actually better than the normal versions. According to this website, these weapons have a 70% chance to drop from Legend Lost sectors and a 100% chance to drop from Master Lost sectors, assuming you get platinum rewards from killing all champions. And when these weapons drop from the Master difficulty, they will also drop with an additional perk to swap between in the final 2 columns. It's random which one gets the perk, but it could be either. This means you can either do Legend for faster Lost sectors and target farm for God Roll legendaries, or you can do Master Lost sectors for slower runs that give guaranteed weapons that have multiple perks. And since they have multiple perks, it means you'll have an easier time getting the God Roll you want, and you have a chance to get what I call super God Rolls, where it's every perk you're looking for with the optional perk being your number 2 choice. So you can swap between the two depending on the situation. Now, which of these weapons are actually worth getting from Lost sectors? Well, there's a lot to like. However, none of them are technically best of the best, but they are way easier to get for the majority of players, and in most cases, these weapons are so similar to their better counterparts that it doesn't even matter. Why would you go do a raid for 6 weeks when you could get almost the same thing from Lost sectors in one afternoon? So looking at the first rotation of weapons, we have Nox Perennial. This is a strand fusion rifle that can get perks like Envious Assassin for a larger magazine, or Lead from Gold for more ammo drops, in addition to Controlled Burst for an easy damage buff, or Hatchling for Threadling builds. This is a solid strand fusion rifle, and I'd say the only thing better is a crafted scatter signal. But if you don't own Season of the Wish, or you don't feel like grinding seasonal content, this is a great replacement. Also, since this can get 2 perks in the final column, there's a chance you get the Super God Roll, which has Controlled Burst and Hatchling. One for DPS, one for Threadlings. And another weapon in this rotation is Old Sterling. This is a strand auto rifle that gets your choice of Demolitionist for grenade energy, Frenzy for a damage buff that even your grandma could activate, or Hatchling for a bunch of psychic rats. It also gets reload perks like Rewind Rounds, Slideways, or Surplus, so reloading won't be much of a hassle. Nothing too flashy with this weapon, but it's a great primary for grenade builds, as well as Threadling builds, and it's one of the weapons I've been using in my Can I Beat Destiny Without Reloading challenge, which I'm streaming right now at twitch.tv/Marshix_. For the other weapons in this rotation, Marcillion belongs in a landfill, and Sanuna is decent. This is just Last Hope, but Stasis, because it's a 3-round burst Amalon sidearm, and it's Stasis. This has one good roll in Feeding Frenzy Headstone, and for Stasis builds, it's a solid option. The main draw to this weapon though is that it is like Last Hope, which is a fan favorite sidearm from year 1, and again in year 3. Unfortunately, that got sunset years ago, and nothing really took its spot. And while this isn't nearly as good, it still feels really nice, especially in Stasis builds where it can create some fun combos with Headstone. The second day's rotation has a couple good weapons too. First is Psy Hermetic, a Stasis pulse rifle that gets Kill Clip or Frenzy for good damage perks, Headstone for Stasis shenanigans, and Reload perk or Reload perk for reloading faster. If you like high impact pulse rifles, this is one of the best. Glissando is another weapon you might consider. It's a strand scout rifle, which there aren't a lot of to begin with, and of those 4, this is the only one that's 180 RPM, which is my favorite archetype in PvE, similar to things like Doom of Chelchis, Hung Jury, and Vision of Confluence. This also gets perks that none of the others do, those being Reconstruction and Overflow. These both double your magazine size in their own ways, which is really nice to have at higher level content, and it also gets 1 for all for an easy to activate damage buff just by hitting 3 enemies. Or you could also go with Hatchling for strand builds. This definitely isn't the best scout rifle, not when these things exist, but if you're looking for a really good strand scout rifle, this is a great option. Now, as for this reskinned green sword and this distant Tumulus wannabe, there are so many better options out there. Don't even bother with these. But if you must know, I would say go with Relentless Strikes plus either Whirlwind Blade or Surrounded on the sword, and 4th time's a charm and Firing Line on the sniper. Anything else is an instant delete. The third rotation is about as good as my vocabulary. Just good enough to pass. Of the 4 weapons, 3 of them are absolute trash, but the 4th one makes up for their sins. Heliocentric is a solar lightweight frame sidearm with some of the best perks you could hope for. And the first column is solid too, with Demolitionist, Heel Clip, and 4 other perks that you probably don't really want, but are good enough not to complain. Now, the perk combinations you'll want here are either Demolitionist plus Incandescent for solar builds with an emphasis on grenades, Heel Clip plus Kill Clip so you can get 1 kill, then reload and get a damage buff, and heal yourself, and activate Ember of Benevolence for increased ability regen almost all of the time. Or if you don't get any of those, go for Demolitionist plus any damage perk. You can never go wrong with that. After 3 runs of this Lost Sector, I got this Heliocentric with Incandescent and Frenzy, and the other perk is Moving Target, so it isn't quite a god roll, but it is really nice since I can change between the 2 damage perks. Incandescent for solar builds, and Frenzy for everything else. Epilepsy warning! And I was only given 1 seizure in the process. Bungie, please fix this constant flashing and screen shake. The 4th day's rotation is home to a couple good weapons. Coronach is a solar auto rifle that gets Incandescent or Target Lock, 2 of the most popular weapon perks, alongside Feeding Frenzy for faster reload speed. Now, you're probably thinking, why don't I just use Amit? Well, not only is this a 600 RPM, which some people like more than 450s, but since it comes from Lost Sectors, this has the potential to roll Incandescent and Target Lock at the same time. So depending on your build or the activity you're running, you can swap between the 2 perks whenever you want to. Harsh Language is another weapon worth considering since it gets destabilizing rounds to make enemies volatile, which is good for ad clear and works great with certain void builds. I wouldn't say this is a must-have, but if you happen to get it, definitely don't delete it. Geodetic is just Nazradin, but worse. And Combined Action is decent in Crucible, but if I wanted to play PvP, I would go play a different game. Long story short, solo Lost Sectors have always been a great place to farm for exotics, and now you can farm for world drop weapons at the same time. Master Lost Sectors give double perks on your weapons, so it's easier to get god rolls, and unlocks the ability to get super god rolls. So if you like any of the weapons I went over in this video, be sure to farm for them whenever they come around. Now that you have some super god rolls, you'll need a good build to use them with. So watch this video to see all the best builds for solo players. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm Marshix, and I'll see you next time. And don't forget, I'm live right now on Twitch, so if you want to see a future video early, check it out.